Mindanao is bearing the brunt of Tropical Depression Vinta. 5 people are dead and thousands homeless as Vinta hits several parts of the region. We're showing you a drone video which captures the extent of flooding in Cagayan de Oro City. Thousands were evacuated as several homes were flooded. Cagayan de Oro has been experiencing non-stop rain since Thursday. Disaster officials implemented forced evacuation in several areas after placing the city under red alert. Rescue operations continue in several barangays. Over 16 towns in the province of Misamis Oriental are flooded. Some 11,000 individuals are now staying at temporary shelters. In nearby Valencia City in Bukidnon, a 2-year-old girl and a 65-year-old woman died in a landslide in Barangay Laligan. Earlier in the day, 2 persons were rescued along the Pulangi River after their wooden boat capsized. In Agusan del Norte, an inmate at the Butuan City Jail died and 13 others were injured when the roof of the prison collapsed because of the strong winds and rains. Maranao, still reeling from the 5-month-long war in Marawi, are now facing another ordeal. 2 students were reported dead after a landslide hit Tugaya, some 25 kilometers from the city. Tents in shelter sites for residents displaced by the war were destroyed, so evacuees had to be moved to covered courts. Earlier, our chief correspondent Pio Ontiveros spoke to the head of the Lanao del Sur Disaster Risk and Reduction Management Office, Saripada Pangasum Jr. He tells CNN Philippines some roads are impassable because of boulders.
Our main problem right now is yung mga malalaking rocks which is blocking the main highway. So right now we're trying to clear it po. Pero it's taking time lang kasi medyo malalaki.
Also speaking to CNN Philippines, Cagayan de Oro Disaster Officer Alan Porcadilla gives us details on the river that overflowed, causing heavy flooding.
Dahan-dahan yung pong pag-apaw niya since Cagayan de Oro has 16 tributaries coming from the province of Bukidnon. So yung mga tubig na galing doon, yun yung bumaba dito sa amin sa Cagayan de Oro at sa yung dahilan na umapaw yung ilog namin dito, yung tinatawag namin Carmen River po.
Tropical Depression Vinta is now over Zamboanga, Sibugay and moving toward the Sulu Sea. Weather Bureau Pagasa says Vinta is hovering over Zamboanga del Sur. Moderate to occasionally heavy rains will prevail in the Visayas and western Mindanao over the next 24 hours. Vinta earlier made landfall as a severe tropical storm in Catil, Davao Oriental, spawning heavy rains and gusty winds. Southern Palawan is under signal number 1 along with southern Negros Oriental and Siquijor. It's the same in Lanao del Norte, Misamis Occidental, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, and Zamboanga Sibugay. Residents in affected areas should be on alert against flooding and flash floods. Pagasa says Vinta will exit the country on Christmas Eve, Sunday. And on Christmas Day, gradual improvement of the weather is expected in areas affected by Vinta. It's 3 days before Christmas and we're still monitoring the arrival of passengers in one of the major bus terminals in Metro Manila. Trisha Tarada reports from the Araneta Center bus terminal in Cubao, Quezon City. Trisha, how's the situation there?
Yes, Missy, most buses on afternoon trips have already left. And what we're seeing now is the evening batch. And there is actually quite a rush of passengers since this afternoon. In general, passengers came in early. Some arrived 2 to 4 hours earlier than their scheduled trip, so as not to risk being late because of bad traffic. But unlike yesterday, there seems to be more chance passengers hoping to secure a seat despite announcements that almost all trips are already fully booked. We also saw long queues for the Bicol and Iloilo buses, but operators say they can't guarantee a ride. So these passengers are literally taking a chance. Operators say their fate lies with the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, and if the agency issues more special permits for the buses to get on the road, then there's hope for these people taking a chance for a ride to their loved ones. Now, as for the security here at the Araneta bus terminal, the police say there has been no untoward incident, not even a petty crime since yesterday. Meanwhile, good news to those headed to the north. It's so much easier to secure last-minute trips that way in the terminals along the EDSA. Now, there are many available buses, particularly for those going to Cabanatuan, Pangasinan, and Tarlac. But tomorrow is another story because operators expect an even bigger crowd, so longer lines are likely to be seen over the weekend. Mitzi?
Many people eager to get home. Thank you, Tricia Terrada. They're reporting to us from Araneta Bus Terminal in Quezon City. More passengers are flying in, out, and around the country. As expected, today is the peak before Christmas. NAIA General Manager Ed Monreal says there's a marked increase of 10 to 12% in passenger volume this holiday season compared to last year. He attributes the increase to a friendlier travel atmosphere boosted by more discounted airfares this year. We have more local stories later in the show. First, a check on the top stories from around the world. The United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly approved a resolution rejecting U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to declare Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The vote, 128 in favor, 9 against, and 35 abstain. The Philippines was one of the nations that abstained. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, says her country will remember this day when the U.S. was, quote, singled out for attack in the General Assembly. 29 people were killed after a fire broke out in a building in North Chungcheong province in South Korea. The fire ripped through an 8-story building in the city of Jecheon. Officials say it's the country's deadliest in 9 years. Those killed include 23 women and 6 men. The fire is suspected to have started in a parked vehicle on the ground floor and spread to the whole building. South Korean President Moon Jae-in visited the site as authorities vowed a thorough investigation to determine the cause of the blaze. And Australia's 103-year-old maritime mystery is finally solved. The country's first submarine, HMAS AE-1, was found off the coast of Papua New Guinea after disappearing without a trace more than a century ago. The 800-ton submarine, which carried 35 crew members, sank near Rabaul on the island of New Britain on September 14, 1914. It was the first loss for the Royal Australian Navy and the first Allied submarine loss in World War I. Coming up for you in the next segment of the newsroom, we have an update for you on the vessel that sunk yesterday in Quezon, an update on the tragedy there. Also, we have an update on the Reds, the communists who have also declared a ceasefire in response to the government declaring a ceasefire during the holiday season. We'll bring you the latest on that, as well as the controversy on Dengvaxia, the dengue vaccine, the latest on the case that has now been taken, that is being taken to the Supreme Court. So many more stories coming your way, and later on, of course, entertainment news. So stay with us until the end of the show and keep sending us your greetings. We love to hear from you. Let us know what you're doing over the holidays. If you're celebrating at home or perhaps going somewhere out for the holidays, let us know. And we do love hearing from you. We want to say hello to Ranel Nadura, who's watching from Parañaque City. Jet Paha watching in Cagayan de Oro. Maria Cristina Villanueva watching in Japan. Bong Herrera watching in Kuwait. Ricky Liorita watching in Zamboanga. Mercedita Valdez watching in Batangas. Marife Hatamosa is also saying Merry Christmas from Perth Down Under in Australia. Ray Mones is watching in Makati from the mall. We also have Benson Santa Ana reacting to the tragedy because of the recent storm, saying sad it gets worse and worse down there ever since Typhoon Sendong. So this is in the south. Typhoon Sendong and Tropical Storm Sendong and Pablo. Eddie Woznicki III says hello, watching from Colorado, USA, and says Merry Christmas to everybody and to CNN. Byron Messina singing us a little song here from Geneva in Switzerland. Chansawad Jitarayakun watching from Thailand. Rabia Alfonso watching from Qatar. John Villegas watching from Bacolod. Frida Van Halen watching from Adelaide in South Australia. Noved Humalun Ponce watching from Singapore. Nelson Navarro also says Merry Christmas. So that's Jane Luis. We also have another greeting from Jeddah, Magallanes Borromeo. Bayani Apostol is watching from Leyte and says good evening. And Susana Dumapat is watching from Kuwait. Mario Medua Bonza also says Merry Christmas, watching from Japan. And we also have Ryan Christian Gatok watching from Bacolod. Susana Castañares Dumapat is also greeting everyone a Merry Christmas. Isabel White says aloha, watching from Ohio in the USA. Mark Jan Romero, or Danny Romero, is watching from Ireland. And Rosalie de la Cruz says Merry Christmas from Bacolod, as well as Angie Arnoco Orbok. Stay with us until the end of the show. You're back in the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Families are in mourning after a tragic mishap off the coast of Quezon Province yesterday. You're looking at images of the rescue operation for the motorized vessel Moorcraft 3 that sank in waters off the coast of Barangay Dinahican in Infanta and Polillo Island. A number of passengers are wearing life jackets, trying to stay afloat while a bangka rushes to get them. The videos were taken from another passenger vessel. The Coast Guard's Public Affairs Office says 5 people are confirmed dead, while 252 others survived. It notes all people on board are accounted for. But there's confusion as to how many people were actually on board the vessel at the time of the accident. The Quezon Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office tells CNN Philippines it's possible the vessel was overloaded. It says an unidentified number of passengers were transferred from another vessel to Moorcraft 3 shortly before it left the port. Based on its data, 4 people died in the incident. 1 is missing and 260 people have been rescued. Looks like the communists are returning the goodwill gesture of the government. The New People's Army has declared a unilateral ceasefire. The group says the declaration is made upon instructions of the Communist Party of the Philippines to observe the holidays and the party's 49th anniversary. The ceasefire will take effect 6 p.m. tomorrow, December 23, until 6 p.m. of December 26 and 6 p.m. of December 30 to 6 p.m. of January 2. This comes a few days after President Rodrigo Duterte declared a truce and ordered a stop to military offensives against the communist rebels on these same dates. Malacanang welcomes the CPP-NPA's declaration of unilateral ceasefire and says they expect that the communist rebels would honor their word. As the Dengvaxia controversy drags on, a party list takes its fight against those behind the vaccination mess to the Supreme Court and Ombudsman. And they're not alone. Mothers and children who got the immunization shots joined the fight. Our Anjo Alimario has more.
More than 70 mothers and children are joining hands in seeking accountability from those responsible in the multi-billion peso Dengvaxia vaccination scandal. Assisted by Gabriela party list, they now want the Ombudsman and the Supreme Court to step in. First, they're asking the High Court to compel the Departments of Health, Education, and Interior Local Government to provide long-term consultations and treatment for free. This should cover all the more than 800,000 children who have been subjected to the anti-dengue immunization program.
Lumapit sa amin ng mga magulang doon sa chapters namin sa Valenzuela particularly, sa Northville, sa Caloocan, at sa iba pang area dito sa Metro Manila.
Leia Abines recalls how her 4 children got vaccinated.
Yung anak ko kasing isa, nagka-dengue na yun nung September. Ngayon, bali yung anak ko, hinikayat ko silang lahat nung nalaman ko nga na may ganun.
She admits she's fearing for the lives of her kids after criticisms against the vaccine broke out.
Lagi po kasi akong kinakabahan po kasi lalo na po may mga napapanood po akong yun nga po, nagkaka-dengue yung mga bata. Kasi nadala na rin po ako dun sa anak kong isa
Angelica, not her real name, shares what she went through after she got vaccinated.
Nung pagkaturok, after 3 days po, sumakit po yung ulo ko, tapos nagkalagnat po ako. Tapos nawala po. Tapos bumalik po. Tapos nung nawala po yung lagnat ko, lumabas po yung mga rashes ko.
They didn't stop there. They also trooped with the Ombudsman to file a graft complaint against former President Aquino, some of his cabinet members, Janet Garin, Florencio Abad, and Paquito Ochoa. They also want executives of Sanofi Pasteur be held accountable. In a statement, Aquino spokesperson Abigail Valdez says the former president's attendance at the Senate committee hearing has proven one thing: he takes accountability seriously. She adds he will continue to answer any and all allegations thrown at him.